Well received by everybody.
So what's next month's meeting about?
What was she saying it was? I forget now. It's been so long since we had our last meeting. I forget.
Like you and I have our same brain space.
Pretty much.
What did he have for breakfast? I don't know.
I remember that. It was a bagel. We're live, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is there if it goes, will it go dark on me at all? Is everything? Okay. Where is it? Oh, that thing. Okay. Okay. Sure, that'd be awesome.
And you want them where?
What's that?
Where do you want them to stand?
Oh, just like, yeah, right next to the thing.
Like right here?
Yeah, perfect, right there, just in your face. Perfect. Okay, so she's gonna be right next to it.
Yeah, let me just stand like right here so I can see. Just kind of trying to get close to collaborative again. One, two, three.
Yeah. Oh, we got one viewer. How do people even know that we're on YouTube doing this? Okay, there you are. Got my notification.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Happy December. Can have everybody take a seat? We're getting ready to get started here. I'm happy to see all of you here. I know it's such a busy month. I was worried we weren't going to have a huge turnout, but we're really pleased with everybody that's here today for this presentation. My name is Leanna Percucci. I am the board chair of the Fullerton Collaborative, and we appreciate you being here. We have a very, very important presentation to share with you today. Today we will be discussing fentanyl dangers in our community with the focus around the myths, the facts, and other tidbits. So this is very, very important information, especially for those that are working with the youth in our community, to be aware of the challenges they are faced with this right now. So we have two board members. We have Malene Morris and Carl Zenner. Malene is on our board, and she represents the elementary and junior high school district students. And then we also have Carl Zenner representing the Fullerton Joint Unified High School District. And so each of those people have reached out to their amazing resources that we're so appreciative that they were willing to come out and share their knowledge with us on this subject. So at this time, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Helene, and she's going to be introducing our special guest, Ray Flores from the Fullerton School District.
Good afternoon, everyone. Leanna, thank you for that nice introduction. I'm Helene Morris. I'm on the board of the Fullerton Collaborative and also the Director of Administrative Services with the Fullerton School District. It's my pleasure today to introduce two of our guest speakers. We have Ray Flores here, who is a former corporal with the Fullerton Police Department, has arrested numerous individuals for drug use, and is also a state certified expert in drugs. And additionally, presenting with Ray, we have Ann Stenton, who is the Student Success Mentor in the Fullerton School District, supporting students at Ladera Vista Junior High School. Ann is also a member of our Social Emotional Learning, or SEL team, and prior to that was a science teacher at Beechwood School. It's my privilege to invite them both up today to share about a very difficult topic, but regardless of the topic, I would like to give them a warm round of applause and welcome them up here today.
I'm kind of loud, so I don't think I'll need this. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it'd be helpful for the
Facebook
live stream. Sorry. Thank you.
How's that? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Ray Flores. I am a veteran of the Fullerton Police Department. I started my career off in LA School District Police, where I worked for about 5 years. I went over to the City of Southgate Police Department, where I worked for a short time, about 3 years, and then I lateraled over here to City of Fullerton, where I finished my career. And after about 22 years, I got to work in various details. I developed expertise in drugs, gangs, traffic, and lots of other things. I retired from law enforcement about 5 or 6 years ago now. And last year, Dr. Pletka couldn't stand the fact that I was sitting at home watching football, riding my motorcycles. And in his jealousy, he decided to ask me to come back and see if I could help out with some of the issues that we were having at some of the schools coming back off of COVID. With our presentation, I'm co-presenting with Ann Stenton, excuse me, I'm sorry. Fenton.
Hi, everybody. Close enough. Hi, everyone. My name is Ann Stenton. I'm so happy to be here today to talk about this topic. I think it's really important that we all kind of, come together and address subjects like this, even if it can be really difficult to talk about, like Lynn said. I've been in education for 15 years. I've been teaching health and science, both for LA Unified and the Fullerton School District. This is my 9th year with Fullerton School District. And today we'll be talking about fentanyl and also a few other pieces of information that you may find helpful or interesting to know about fentanyl and just how to address drug abuse prevention with students and young people. So to start us off, oh, you found it. Yeah, we have a clicker. Wonderful. Do I know how to use it though? Looks pretty good. Okay. Last year, I had the opportunity to attend a wonderful training through the Orange County Department of Education, and with their permission, our presentation today, parts of it are adapted from that presentation. So Stephen Lambert is a prevention coordinator with the Orange County Department of Education, and he shared this presentation with me, and that again was adapted some of the information. All right, so we'll be talking about illicit fentanyl and counterfeit pills. And to start us off, because Ray is the expert with so much background in this topic, we're going to let him talk about what fentanyl actually is and what we know about it at this point.
So what is fentanyl? Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, and it is actually a pharmaceutical drug that was developed to be administered to patients that were going through cancer and potentially in their last stages, and it's designed to be administered and released in a time-release fashion. That's why we're seeing so many problems with people that are overdosing, because they're taking it and it's hitting too fast all at once. It's a very powerful synthetic opioid, and it's a drug that's made from opium poppies, much like morphine and heroin. The fentanyl that we're seeing now is made in labs. We were seeing it coming in from China through Mexico, and now the Mexican cartels are involved, and they're creating it themselves, and it's even being made on this side of the border. Fentanyl is 50 to 100 times as strong as opioids like morphine and heroin, and the problem with it is that because it's not pharmaceutical grade and being made in labs, it's not being mixed properly, and the dosages you get are inconsistent. On my right over here, your left would be a lethal dose of heroin. Kind of hard to imagine that side, but comparatively, on the right of that would be a lethal dose of fentanyl, which is much, much smaller. And that small amount can be a lethal dose of fentanyl right there. So fentanyl in pharmaceutical grade would be manufactured by a pharmaceutical company, and like I mentioned, would be used for legitimate medication purposes, and was often administered in the form of a lollipop to be time released or through patches. The illicit fentanyl is manufactured by a criminal organization and mixed into counterfeit pills that look exactly like legitimate pills such as oxycodone, OxyContin, and Xanax, and other pills.
Trade-off for you. We'll be showing you some examples of what we mean by that later, but to kind of get an idea of how this is affecting Orange County and what we're seeing locally, we wanted to show you a little bit of data. Drug poisoning is the leading cause of accidental death in the United States, and fentanyl has been a driving cause of death in the last few years. So to give you an idea of what that looks like, if you compare death due to car crashes per year, we're looking at around 40,000, and this is nationwide. Drug poisoning is between 80 and 90,000 deaths per year. So those numbers are pretty staggering. Fentanyl-related deaths here in Orange County have also been rising sharply, mirroring those nationwide trends. So from 2012 to 2021, we saw about 13 deaths in all of Orange County related to fentanyl. The number just keeps going up. So the recent data shows increased numbers. I like this graph because it kind of gives us an idea of what we're seeing at which age groups. So if you look at the two biggest parts of the graph there, the tallest columns, the green, we see the highest amount of accidental fentanyl-related deaths between 30 and 39 years old. And that may seem kind of surprising. We'll talk about some possible reasons for that later, but if you look at the numbers on the left-hand side, especially in that 10 to 14 years, there's a huge jump between 10 to 14 years, kind of our junior high, elementary, junior high, to that 15 to 19-year-old range. So that high school range, we see a big jump there. But across the board, we're seeing this affect a wide range of individuals. So it's not just one age group that we're concerned about. Teen death rates from fentanyl here in Orange County between the ages of 15 and 19 have also seen a sharp increase. We didn't see any in 2012. In 2019, 2020, they just skyrocketed. So we're seeing a big increase. We're going to take a look now at some images of counterfeit pills and to try to understand, how can this be affecting so many people in such a wide variety of ages. This is a really short video. I'm not sure how to play it from here. Are you able to play it from the computer? It's really short, I promise.
Here at the Orange County Crime Lab, what kind of numbers are we talking about? Scientists have been inundated recently with illegal fentanyl, but visually identifying it is impossible. It used to be that counterfeit pills were pretty obvious to spot, like this one right here with a WB printed on it. This is MDMA or ecstasy. This is no longer the case though. At the lab, they're seeing all these pills come in that look exactly like prescription pills. These ones are laced with illegal fentanyl, but they'll fool you. They have the same look and imprint code as Xanax and Norco. Does this look like a Norco tablet to you? Yes. At your experience, I've seen a lot of them. And this looks just like the real one.
Is there any narco in that?
No.
So what I like about that video is it shows the experts are even struggling to tell these pills apart. And if the experts can't tell them apart, how are youth or anyone else going to be able to tell them apart? So that, I think, is an important factor to consider when you're looking at that wide range of individuals who are affected. All right, can we go ahead and go, you should be able to just go to the next one.
2020 was
Can you hit pause on
the
this?
worst year for drug overdose.
This is a longer video. We're not going to show it right now. We don't have the time. But if you are interested in learning more about how this can affect families and just one person's journey with it, I guess, Dead on Arrival is a really interesting documentary. You can find it on YouTube. It's free. And then can we go to the next one? So I think if I hit skip, it'll play. There we go. I'm going to hand it over to Ray then for this.
Okay, 2 examples of pills that contain fentanyl. Can anyone in this room tell me which is the fake pill and which is the real one? Maybe we want to venture a guess? Anybody else? He just had to be opposite. I knew it. Actually, those are both fake pills. They're both illicit pills. But thank you for playing. So in 2021, the DEA seized 20 million counterfeit pills. That's what they were able to actually seize. On the left, you'll see a pill press that's used for the making of the counterfeit Xanax. Xanax is very common. Some of you may be familiar with it, have it in your medicine cabinets. It's not. It's prescribed pretty regularly. On the street, kids are often using it. They'll call them bars because they have bars on them for breaking off pieces. And what the kids will do is break off either a piece or 2 pieces, and then they'll take that pill and they'll drink alcohol with it, and it intensifies the effect. And the problem is with the Xanax and with the fentanyl, they're taking that dose thinking that it's Xanax, and instead it's fentanyl, and they're overdosing very quickly.
Okay, I can talk about this one because I love chocolate chip cookies, so I always get to do this slide. I used this example with my 8th graders last year when I was teaching at Beechwood and we were covering health topics. And it seems like a really good way to talk to young people about it, to try to explain it. So what does fentanyl have to do with chocolate chip cookies, you may be asking? Well, when you make chocolate chip cookies, or at least when I make them, they never all have the same number of chocolate chips, right? Some have a lot, some have a little, some don't have very many at all, It just depends on, how good I mixed them up. But with pills, especially the counterfeit pills we're seeing, there's really no way to know how much fentanyl is in each one of the pills. So it's a lot like chocolate chip cookies. Even a pill that came from the same bottle as the last one, it could have a completely different amount of fentanyl in it. So chocolate chip cookies are kind of a good way to think about it. The fentanyl is really unevenly distributed because the cartel people who are making these illicit pills, they don't care about quality. They're not in it for quality control. They're in it to make money. So the quality control just isn't there.
So of the pills that were seized by the DA and they tested, 4 out of 10 had potentially fatal doses of fentanyl, 40%. So these are some of the classes of drugs, opioids such as oxycodone, Norco, some other OxyContin. Adderall is a central nervous system stimulant, and then Xanax would be depressants, and you also have your antidepressants in that class.
Did you want to add anything on that before I keep going?
Of those, I'm sorry. Of those classes, we're seeing fentanyl in each of them, and the problem is becoming worse because it's being added to a lot of different things. All the normal illicit drugs, cocaine's being laced with it, methamphetamine, even marijuana, and the oils and butters and waxes that they're using in the vapes.
So a couple of ideas just really quickly. I know a lot of us have kids, we work with kids in this room. and it can be kind of an awkward and uncomfortable conversation to bring up. So just a few ideas on how to approach this topic with the young people in your life. Using teachable moments can be a great way to kind of bring it up, bring the conversation up. This presentation, you know, I went to a presentation today and we were discussing this. When you see stories come up in the news, Netflix shows, you know, use them as teachable moments. When talking about this, it can be helpful to ask open-ended questions, like, do you know anyone who has tried this? But, you know, what have you heard? And allowing them to kind of share with you. And sharing the facts and your clear expectations. You know, what are your expectations in your household? Why does it matter to you? Having those open and honest conversations can be a great way to bring this up and you know, protect your family. If you have younger children, you can begin talking about medications in general, why we trust doctors to help us take them safely, why you should only take medication from the people you trust in your life, adults, doctors, why you should never share medication. Yes?
You said younger children, define that.
I think it really depends on the child. Like my daughter is 10, and we started talking about this a couple years ago, I think, about 8. You know, you only take cold medicine from grandma and grandpa if they're watching you, or from me. You never take medication from any of your friends, of course, because you don't know how your body's going to react to it. You keep it kind of general, but yeah, I think it depends a lot on the individual. Really important to circle back to this at key transitions. We saw in that graph how there's a huge jump from elementary to, or I'm sorry, from junior high to high school, right? And we know that age group is going to be more likely to experiment. So I think it's a really good time to kind of bring that up, maybe the summer before junior high, and talking about your expectations and, you know, what they can do if they have questions, if they can come talk to you, things like that. And remember, there's a lot of different reasons that a student might be tempted to try drugs. It doesn't mean that, you know, someone failed. It could be that there are external and internal pressures at work. For example, I want to connect with other people. It seems like something people my age do, or maybe they look up to someone who doesn't. It could be something more like, I don't feel good about myself, and I want to feel better. So it could be a combination of internal and external factors that lead to these choices.
Who feels bad in elementary school?
I'm sorry?
Who feels bad in elementary school?
A lot of kids.
We're seeing more of it, unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
They used to show a movie called Scared Straight in the 1950s. Saved a lot of kids from going from, at that time, marijuana to heroin. That was the big thing.
Right.
And you walked out of that assembly room scared to death.
Well, there are a lot of different approaches and a lot of different methods. We want to make sure that we work with our students to make sure they understand their needs and how we can support them. Really quickly, just one thing to mention, a lot of youth are accessing these types of drugs on digital platforms like Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, and so a couple of things to keep in mind, just in general to protect your young people in your life. Making sure you're asking about what they're sharing and what they're seeing online, talking about scams and fakes, not just for medication, but for a lot of different products, right? It can be kind of a general conversation. Using parental controls, and the big one I bolded on the lower right is restricting electronic payments that are done across these platforms. That can be a good way to kind of keep an eye on things. All right.
Okay, so very quickly, some signs of an opioid overdose is just like heroin, it's very similar, where the person can't stay awake, they'll be kind of nodding off. Their eyelids are low and droopy, can't stay awake. Their pulse slows down, or there's no pulse at all, to the extent that they're not breathing. Their skin looks pale and cold. Pupils are pinpointed. So your pupils will be constricted all the way down. In spite of how little light is out, normally when it's dark, your eyes will dilate, your pupils will dilate to bring in more light, and that your body, when it's under the influence of any kind of a drug of this type, will not react the way it should. The body is very limp, and the person will not respond to any kind of stimulation. And in the event of an overdose such as this, the thing that's being used now is, some of you might have heard of a drug called Narcan. Anybody heard of this? Okay. You can go down to your pharmacy and request, tell them that you work, like in my case, I work in school, I'm a lot around kids all day long. I went to my pharmacy, told my pharmacist that I work around kids, I needed it. We hadn't gotten our allotment from the county of Narcan. I told them in the event, not that we've had it happen yet, and this stuff, but I wanted to have it in the event that something happened or I came across somebody, maybe on the street or anywhere else, to be able to get it. So, do you have the handout?
I do. I passed these out.
You should all have a handout.
If you did not get one, I'll come around and pass out. If you didn't get one.
Has anyone not seen Narcan close up? I can go ahead and pass this one around. You guys can take a quick look at it. But basically, it's like a lot of like nasal sprays. You have to get it far up into the nasal passage as you can, and squeeze the dosage off and hold it as long as you can until you get a reaction. And the reaction is pretty instantaneous. So if you did it right, you hit them and they'll react and come back. The breathing won't start again. If they don't, you can administer a second dose without fear that it's going to do any harm to them. So our response to try to get ahead of this, and I'd like to give credit to Dr. Blecker for his leadership in this, as well as Lori Bruno for spearheading it. She's gotten enough Narcan to equip all 20 of our schools with these packets to, in case anything comes up, we have something to respond to an overdose with. And we'll all be trained to use that. We have increased our coverage around different places around the Indian campuses so we can watch to see if anything out of the ordinary is happening. Those cameras are monitored and reported. We had vape detectors. Those were the first generation. We're going to be installing the latest generation of vape detectors that have cameras and different sensors to detect when vapes are being used. Like there have been instances where vapes are used to ingest fentanyl that not necessarily on purpose, but they're ingesting marijuana in the vapes, thinking and not knowing that there's fentanyl in it. So we're using that to get ahead of that. And we're also doing fentanyl and drug abuse prevention education for parents, staff, and for kids. So I'm going to be very busy for the next couple of months doing those classes and arranging with the different administrators to put those on. And we're also in partnership with Fullerton Police Department. Sergeant Eric Bridges is our liaison, and he works very closely with us whenever we have any kind of incident or things like that. We call him up and they send somebody down to help us out. And we're also going to be doing expanded mental health support in FSD schools. And we also, when we do catch kids that are in possession of something that they shouldn't have, whether it's marijuana, alcohol, or anything else, we're using a lot of diversion. So I'm kind of from the old school, like she was talking about earlier, where it was more about don't do it, teach them the wrong way. But the kids aren't responding to that anymore. In a lot of cases, they're coming from a different type of home, different types of backgrounds, and we're trying to use whatever kind of method is going to work. Some kids respond to that, many don't. So we're trying to have a different approach for each type of kid. And for additional resources, you can we're using our school counselors and mental health support. And for the diversion, we're using OC Bar Association Shortstop program. They also have a Shortstop of Addiction program. And you can use that QR code if you'd like to get some of those resources.
Yes.
I have a question. I used to work with NAACP, National Council on Drug Dependence, in Torrance, and they used to have the high schools, if a kid was caught with paraphernalia or marijuana, they would go to the courthouse, the judge would require weekly classes and drug testing at the family center, like the drug center. So it's told her to do that?
So what many people don't understand about the juvenile justice system is that it is not punitive, not designed to be punitive like the adult criminal justice system. So when they go to court, it used to be that you would write a ticket or you would arrest a kid, and what they would end up getting was probation. They'd be monitored, they'd be drug tested, and they would get diversion programs. They'd have all kinds of resources available to them. And that was the idea behind that. There's been a movement to get away from that because there was a feeling that it was too punitive and that it was being utilized against certain kids over other kids. And so we're not doing that as much. So the courts are not accepting these cases as often. So we were trying to do everything else that we can at our level, and only using that as a last resort. If we were to catch a kid that was dealing or had a large amount or something along those lines, we would be able to do something with that. But even in talking to the police department, the courts are not accepting a lot of these cases now. So we have to work with what we have now. But when I started in law enforcement, that was a lot of what we did. We caught somebody with something, we'd write them a ticket or arrest them, and they would get processed and sent to whatever resources were available.
Right, but this was Torrance, and they didn't go through the county probation department. It was just the school districts, the school officer, the judge, the city of Torrance. It wasn't like county probation and juvenile hall. It had nothing to do with that. If they didn't complete that program, then that's a different story. But the school district with the city judge.
So this shortstop program works a lot like that. It's through the Orange County Bar Association. And so anybody can refer a child to that program. A parent can do it, a teacher, a principal. It used to be that only law enforcement can do it, but they expanded the program. And so we have the forms. You can get the form off of the QR code, but that program is along those same kind of lines. But there's various ways to get to that, and so the diversion is now the route that they're taking. All right.
Thank you so much for allowing
I'd
me
like
to speak
to,
today.
yeah, thank you very much. I'm sorry, Andy.
No, go ahead.
Thank you very much for having us. I'd like to turn it over to our colleague here, Alan Whitten from the high school district.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you so much for all that important information. Okay, as promised, I'm going to have Mr. Carl Zinner come up from the Fullerton Joint Union High School District to introduce his guest.
Hey, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Carl Zinner. I work in the Fullerton Joint Union High School District. Very pleased to have with us today Alan Whitten. He's our Director of Student Services, and he's been doing a lot of great work with our schools and our community on the dangers and precautions with fentanyl. So give him a big round of applause. Alan Whitten,
Thank you, Dr. Zinner. I was the principal at Sunny Hills for the last 8 years and started this position about a year ago. Before that, I was in the state of Washington and focused in a very inner city district, solely on discipline and student wellness. So now in my role, I oversee discipline and student wellness for the Fullerton High School District. And we've come a long ways in the last couple of years in how we're supporting students and how we're keeping drugs out of our school. So the presentation that was just given by Ray and Ann was just outstanding. I don't know if anybody has been to too many of these fentanyl presentations. I can tell you I've been to 4 or 5, and they did as good a job as any. So that was excellent information on fentanyl. The only thing I could possibly add to that, yeah, I love that parent tip on turning off your payment option. You would be shocked at how easy it is for our youth to get this stuff. It's a Snapchat. It's a message on Instagram, and it arrives at your door. Not too long ago, one of our Orange County youth received a package that he ordered, a 14-year-old, on his front porch, grabbed it before his mom saw it, said goodnight to his mom, dropped the pill, and died that evening. That's how easy it is for them to get this stuff. So my biggest tip to parents is sit down with your kid on a weekly basis, if not more, and open up everything. And you gotta be forensic specialists to make sure they're not hiding these things. Look at all their apps. It's amazing how many parents don't do that, and it's not comfortable. But we need to encourage, and we got to get over the fact that that's not comfortable. Hand me that phone, open it up, and I'm going to look at everything. And that's one of the most powerful ways you can intervene. So our response in the high school district is very similar to the elementary district, and the way we're supporting kids mental health wise, discipline wise, really supporting student wellness. So that's one of the triggers on why they go down this road. We've developed a really robust website with a lot of parent resources. We sent out a letter to our community earlier this year, like so many districts did, just trying to raise that awareness and give them those resources. We started using drug dogs just a couple of years ago, Canine Solutions, and not through the police departments. Canine Solutions came in. As a high school principal, I was a little nervous about this. I didn't like the message we were sending with drug dogs, and so I had some reservations. Now that we've done it for a few years, it has been one of the most effective things about keeping drugs out of our school. When kids know that any minute now, those dogs might show up, and if you have something, you can get caught. It has really been a game changer for us. So I'm now a big supporter of drugs on the campuses. They don't get much anymore, but we make a show of it, and they go around class to class and they sniff everybody's bags and the whole thing. And we'll get a hit here and there, but it wasn't like when we first started doing it. So now the message is out. We are not playing around with drugs on our campuses. Also this year we had a Red Ribbon Week, which it's just a campaign, a campaign across the campuses. But our sites do such a good job about getting the word out, raising awareness. Every day was a different theme, different messages, just raising that awareness. Also this year we partnered with La Habra, Buena Park, and Fullerton Police Departments to provide a parent workshop. And we got a fairly good attendance for something like that, where the parents that showed up got to hear directly from our local law enforcement the trends they're seeing, and it's everything that was just so expertly presented today. That can be found on our website too. We've made a video of that, so if you want to watch that. They talked about cyber predators, sexting, and drug trends, and fentanyl. So there's a lot of extra information there too. Our SROs, we have an SRO on every one of our sites, and they talked about the Narcan. So that's a big need, obviously. We need to get Narcan out because there's no downsides to Narcan. If somebody's having an overdose problem or experiencing medical issues for that reason, and you use it, and you find out that wasn't why they were having it, there's no downside to it. So it's one of those things anybody can do. In fact, one of the presentations I just attended from the Orange County Sheriffs, they handed it out to everybody. There's 500 of us there. They handed it out to everybody at the end of that workshop after a little bit of a training by a nurse. So now we are having a second parent workshop, and this is something we're really excited about. So we partnered with the 4th District, Deb Chafee. Paulette Chafee is here today, and she's handing out a flyer. Actually, Paulette reached out to us. She brought this opportunity to us, and so it's a partnership opportunity with OC Health, the 4th District, and then our district. And now I talked to Helene with Fullerton School District. They're supporting us as well. We want to really blow this thing up. We want to get as many parents and community members as we can to this workshop. And you guys can just pass these out here. And Dr. Z, just have one for those. Can you pass this down? And I apologize. I thought I printed plenty. I think we probably are okay. If you don't get one, talk to me. I'll give you the information though. So at this opportunity will be at Fullerton High School, January 26th. We're going to have an expert panel. There's going to be a video similar to the one they didn't show, which is an excellent video if you get a chance to watch that. Then they'll have a panel of experts, but here's the big thing. At the end, everybody in attendance will be trained on Narcan, and you'll get one on your way out. So that's what we want to just blanket our community with that. Not too long ago, you mentioned Sergeant Bridges. Their department just saved a life 2 weekends ago. A young adult who had overdosed, and the police officer that responded had Narcan, saved a life. That's how easy you can do it. It's happening every day. So in my position, you can only imagine mental health, discipline. I wake up every morning wondering if this is going to be the day, and that's why we're doing everything we can to just raise the awareness of our community, of our students, and how we're responding to this to date, and I'm knocking on wood because we are not immune to any of this, and we know that in Fullerton and our district, but we have not had a fentanyl-related incident with one of our students. And it just terrifies me to know that it's the trends that we're seeing, the trends that you presented, the statistics and the data, we know we're not going to be immune to it. So we want to do everything we can to just inform our students, staff, and community. And so we thank you for your partnership in that, and we thank you for this opportunity to speak today. And with that, I think we could open up for questions. Okay. Okay, I think you guys answered all the questions.
Does anybody have any questions about any of the information?
We do have a question
that we talked about?
Online. They want to know whether or not the PowerPoints would be available after.
We can make that available.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay.
We'll make it available. Nobody?
I have a question about it. Hi, my name's Steve. I have a question about the canine dog.
Yeah.
So what can they smell? They smell pills and fentanyl?
Well, I'm in the process of trying to arrange the same thing for our district. We're trying to work it out. I've actually seen them used at a high school where I went to watch it. A different company, but basically the same concept. And they're not, just so everybody knows, they're not using the Malinois or the German Shepherds and the big, mean, aggressive dogs. They're not using pit bulls for sure. They're the soft, cute, little fuzzy dogs. They're really awesome dogs, and they're like most service animals, very docile, very calm dogs, and they just go through and they can smell everything and anything. The way it was explained to me is they can smell, well, the dogs that I'm not sure about that company, but the company that I talked to, they can smell explosives, they can smell weapons, they can smell gunpowder, they can smell fentanyl, any kind of opioids, cocaine, methamphetamine, everything. They're cross-trained on everything.
Thank you.
Is that different from what you
Yeah, the company we use and the dogs we use is very similar. The kids love seeing them. They're very friendly dogs, but they don't smell all of those things. But just don't tell anybody. They just think whatever we have, they're going to sniff it out. So keep that in this room.
And it's a great deterrent.
They smell a lot of things. All of you guys smell a lot of things.
I'm Zara, council member here in the city of Fullerton, so thank you for the work you're doing. And just, there's no question, I just want to offer that the city is willing to also participate and let us know how we can help.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's going to take all of us.
So my daughter graduated from Sunny Hills High School last year, and my son is there now. He's 16 years old, and the dogs are a great detector, I guess, deterrent for the kids, because they really don't know. Thank God my kids, they're very aware about drugs and all that, but there's kids that do bring drugs and sell in school, and when they see the dogs, they freak out, and they don't know that they can't detect certain things. So it's really great. I tell my kids that I have a good relationship with them about the drugs. They know people that have actually overdosed and all that. But it's such a great thing to have those dogs there.
It's a great tool.
Oh my goodness.
Alan and I actually worked together. I was his SRO when he was principal, and I was there at the school. And it's always a fine line to walk, but it's not just about catching those kids and getting them in any kind of trouble. It's really less about that than getting them the help that they need. But we also don't want to forget the other 95% of kids that are going to school trying to have a normal, positive, high school experience or junior high school experience. So all of these things are for them as well. That's great.
So since the presentation showed that the deaths are actually concentrated in millennials, what advice would you give if one suspects that their family members or friends are going down that line? Like, how would one go about supporting adults through this?
Well, Anne, would you like to speak to that?
Try. It's a really good question. How to support older adults or millennial adults that may be struggling with a dependence issue like this. I think, first of all, it's important to not judge, and I think it's important to remember that, just because somebody has a substance abuse issue doesn't make them a bad person, right? It's a medical issue and they need support. And I think coming from that place and being open and honest and going, look, I care about you, I am concerned, this is what I've seen. And you may have to be persistent, but I think probably asking for medical, support too would be the best route, because that's a really challenging situation.
I won't poll the room, but I'd be willing to bet that there's many of us in this room that are families or close friends or people we know have been affected by this. I coached softball for over 20 years, and I coach here at Fullerton Hills softball, and I lost one of my former players that I hadn't talked to her in a few years, but I lost her earlier this year, and that really hit home to me because I don't remember that kid being somebody that I would have thought that would have been in that situation. So we need to make sure that we're paying attention to it and using all the resources that are available. Any other questions? Sir?
What politicians are making money off of the drugs coming across the border?
I have my suspicions, but I'll hold those to myself. I mean, it's always about money, right? At the end of the day, it's always about money. But without the demand, there wouldn't be the supply. So it's up to us to educate these kids, educate everybody as much as we can, tell them what the dangers are, and hopefully get them help to keep them from wanting to get involved in these things to begin with. I don't know that we'll ever be able to completely eradicate that kind of desire, but if we can make a dent, do our part, then that's the best we can hope for. And all that other stuff, that's above my pay grade. I'm just wanting to help the kids that I can help in our schools.
Are the teachers and counselors getting this kind of training?
Yes. Yes, we're going to be doing education series at the elementary district. I'm going to be handling a lot of that. And that, like I said, that'll be my next couple of months that I'll be doing at the district. So, same thing at the high school district. And I'm sure you guys are using your SROs for a lot of that. Yeah.
How many kids in these school districts died?
In our school district?
There, how many?
In our school district, we haven't had any.
Sorry, I can't understand you.
In our school districts, we have not experienced any incidents of overdose in the elementary school district.
Same.
Neither in the high school district. This is our proactive approach. We're trying to get ahead. Thank you very much. We're trying to get ahead of this, and we know that it's happening. We're hearing the news reports like everybody else. We're watching the trends, and we know that it's coming. Like Ellen said, we're not immune to it. We're not going to bury our heads in the sand. We've got leadership in our school districts that are willing to meet this head on and allow us to get ahead of it by providing the education, the tools, and building the partnerships and collaborating with each other to make sure that, to the best of our ability, that it doesn't happen.
I think if you included a few statistics on your flyers, that would get people's attention.
Thank you.
Is this the old plumber?
No, it's actually the theater.
Theater?
Mhm.
Yes.
I think also the emphasis has to be on, fentanyl is in every drug off the street. And I got interested because my daughter's nephew thought he was getting Xanax off the street. It had fentanyl in it. He died. And he had a job interview the next day for the pharmaceutical firm. And recently, this was his mother, my daughter's sister-in-law's only child. And she hung herself 3 months ago. So we not just get the kids on the fentanyl, but how the parents deal with this. She dealt with it for almost 3 years, and she couldn't deal with it anymore. And that's what she did. So we're dealing with a big problem, and that's 2019, and even before that. And people didn't realize in 2019, when he died, that this was a problem. They thought, oh, was he a drug addict? Was he this? Was he that? No. So it is larger and it's getting bigger. I think I read, I mentioned to you, in Cerritos, I think somebody was mixing up a batch that just was arrested and distributing in Los Angeles. So, fentanyl.
We had occasion to speak before the meeting, and it, you know, as part of the education, we're going to be trying to be as forthright as we possibly can within reason with the age groups that we're working with. But these people don't really. It's all about profit. They don't care what they're putting in it. They don't. If they can't find what's needed to the chemical compounds needed to make the fentanyl, they're going to use substitutes, and what they think in their chemist brains is going to make sense. We've seen rat poison and all kinds of other things put in those commonly. So when people are dying, it's not a surprise when you find out what is actually goes into the illicit fentanyl. Yes.
There's included in the handouts today is a brochure from Twin Town. I'm not sure if anybody from Twin Town is here. Oh, she just they're a great program, by the way. They're an outpatient program, and so forth. You talked today about a lot of this. What you're talking about is to get the students the help that they need. So for the students that have a more serious substance abuse issue that need a higher level of care than outpatient, currently in the county there are no treatment beds for adolescent males, and for adolescent females there are 6 beds. So you can probably appreciate the long wait list for those 6 beds. So is the Fullerton School District, whether elementary or high school, working with the county to close the gap in services?
I can tell you that we do have an opportunity to work with Orange County Department of Education on a regular scheduled meeting about a monthly basis, where these are the exact kind of concerns we're raising with healthcare officials in our county, and they understand the need. They understand that this is a crisis, and so I do believe there's people in our county and state level working hard to try to expand that, but that's the reality of that. So there's a lot of other ways we can support students, though, and that's a robust and continuous mental health care continuum of support services built into our schools, which I believe we both do have. But like we said, our best opportunity is to inform people ahead of time. That's why we're trying to do that as much as we can and prevent that use. The science, the biology, and what fentanyl does to the brain is really frightening. And the big difference is it's not a situation where before somebody just did massive quantities of something and it's an overdose. One pill from a dealer today might get somebody high, and the next day the same dealer from a pill in that exact same batch might kill you. So it's just a whole different ballgame now, the way this has evolved.
Follow-up question? Other than an acknowledgement by the folks you're talking about that we're in a crisis situation, did you get any factual, constructive, here's what we're doing to try to close the gap in services?
Yeah, and I wish I could speak more specifically to that, because we do talk a lot about it, a lot of topics, but specifically there's some funding that our county is very excited about to increase services throughout the county. So I don't feel like it's just, oh yeah, we're gonna do this and that, and there's no action. I'm just not prepared to speak really pointed to the specifics of that.
Can you speak as to a time frame?
No, that's not my expertise, but I can tell you that those are concerns that you shared so accurately are being expressed, and I believe people are listening.
Thank you.
Yeah. In the back.
Yeah, I just want to mention that, and I'm on an appointed Orange County Behavioral Health Advisory Board. Every county in the state has one. Is that family denial is probably the biggest issue we have, and presenting think it's really important that whoever's here who has a concern, go to Supervisor Chafee's event. The county's had several of them, and some of them have been very well attended, and some of them have not. Maybe it's like who shows up at a PTA meeting. But there's two issues. There's one, don't do drugs. You know, that's a story. And now, if you're doing drugs, you're going to get something that can kill you, and you don't know you're getting it. Whether you're the athlete who needs pain pills, or you're somebody getting Xanax. Kids in 7th grade, you know, and I don't know, I guess I read about the Troy student, but I guess the Troy student didn't die from fentanyl.
She wasn't in school. She was out of school. She graduated.
Oh, she was
She
graduated.
Yes,
So did
so
she go to?
so it's not in their numbers.
Right, so regardless, it's not about, for me as a family member, it's not about which school does or doesn't have whatever. It's how do the students process a kid that overdoses and lives, overdoses and dies, or has other issues going on at home that they don't have a safe adult to speak with. And anything you can do to empower the family to have honest conversation will go a long way. I mean, there's tons of resources to give away. The state's getting all sorts of opiate settlements, and some cities are getting their own money. The county's getting money. County just got a $27 million grant for SUV beds for adolescents, and, which is still will close a gap, but it won't close it near enough. So anyway, I guess it's really important not to try to look good. Looking good is like, just, it can't be in today's world because kids or anyone, and you know, opiate deaths are very high in older adults too. So it covers against. So I know you know that, but the people who know it. It's about getting to the people who think their kids are doing fine and then find out valedictorian committed suicide. Or, you know, it's not just.
And that's exactly why we're both trying to hit, you know,
No, I
right
appreciate that.
at the source
Just
and
make
get
sure
those
you-
kids to understand it so that hopefully if they have a problem, they feel comfortable coming to somebody. And we have lots of layers at both school districts that they can come to for help. And if we can do anything for anyone else, I mean, we're going to open up our doors to them too.
I'm just asking that you make the focus empowering the citizens. Thanks.
Of course, last.
Thank you all for your questions. I'm told that that's we're out of time for it. I appreciate all your attention and everything that you guys do for the city and for all of our kids. And thank you, Alan. Thank you, Ann.
And thank you. This is, as you can see, I agree with what you were saying, and that's the reason why our board really wanted to talk about this as soon as possible this school year and put it for this December meeting, because how important this conversation is. We will have this meeting on YouTube, right, Debbie? So if you would like to share this meeting with somebody else so they have these resources, we will have that available on our YouTube channel. I'm sure you could reach, and then also really pushing what Judge Chafee is doing with this workshop in January. Please, we are giving you these resources so you can have them and do exactly what this gentleman is talking about, is not being afraid to have these conversations, you know? And that's why we wanted to do this today. We didn't want to be afraid to have these conversations because this is happening. And like you said, we've been lucky so far, but we don't want to be unlucky because we're not having the conversation. So I appreciate all of you being here and present for that today. So, and because of that, that's why we spent the full meeting on it and have completely run out of time for much else. And Debbie and I kind of agreed that we would let that happen today. If you want to become a member or know anybody that would like to become a member, please, it's not too late to join us. We do have instead of having our committee reports this month, we're just going to go ahead and give you these. They don't have much to report out this month with the end of the year wrapping up, Christmas vacations coming up. But these are our meeting dates for all of our subcommittees for the new year. So please put those in your calendar so we can start 2023 off with lots of energy and excitement and motivation around these subcommittees. And then our next meeting will be the second Monday of January, and we'll be right here in this room again, starting at 2 for mixing and being able to network, and then our meeting 2:30 to 3:30. So, in the meantime, if you have anything you need from us, please do not hesitate to reach out to Debbie or myself. We're here for you, as are our other board members. And with that, I think that about.
Have the room till 4.
We have the room until 4. So you're welcome to hang out, network some more, and get some resources for your own individual organizations. Other than that, I wish all of you an amazing, amazing holiday and a very, very happy new year. And I look forward to an amazing 2023 with all of you. Thank you.
Just the three of us. And stream.